Well, they certainly care about the Cowboys. That was the highest-rated game of the season on Fox last week between the Cowboys and the Seahawks, and that was two mediocre teams playing last week. The Cowboys were the highest-rated team on every network they appeared on last season. So, people want to say, well, they're not America's team anymore. It's the Steelers or it's the Patriots or it's this team or it's that team, but people always watch them no matter what their record is. They want to – half the people want to see them win and half the people want to see them lose, so they're still a top draw. So no surprise. The only surprise would have been, the Cowboys, they had a chance to move the Cowboys Dolphins. There was a possibility anyway that the Cowboys Dolphins in a couple weeks with Romo's first game back from the injury. We thought that might be moved to a primetime game, and it wasn't. So, they're still a draw no matter what.
Well, then you lead me into that one. Romo, first game back, could be against the Dolphins. Is that the expectation? Is there any doubt that he'll be ready to go for that particular game? Because I asked that question with Foles last year. We went through this for weeks where he was throwing, he looked fine, and never ended up coming back. Is Romo confident that Week 11 Dolphins, he's there?
Yeah, I think that is the expectation, that he'll be on the field for that game. Now, my question would be, 4 days later they turn around and play Carolina. We know their defense is really good, first of all. And second of all, he looked terrible against the Eagles last year on Thanksgiving with a 4-day turnaround. He's got the collarbone injury, but even the bigger thing is his back. He takes Wednesdays off every week to protect that back and do some strength training stuff on. He's not going to have that, the 4-day turnaround. So that, to me, is the bigger question is, what are they going to do in between those two games after the Miami game to get him ready to turn around and play again on Thanksgiving? And is he going to look better than he did against the Eagles last year with the 4-day turnaround?
That's a good point. Is the thought that they need to get one of these games before Romo comes back? I mean, if they go winless without Romo, does that mean good night, Irene? Or, do they have to get one game without Romo?
Well, it's simple math. And, people want to say it's a must-win. Well, this division's so bad that it's not a must-win. They're not going to be eliminated if they don't win this game this week. But, yes, simple math tells you they have 5 losses. They lose one of these, they're at 6. With Romo coming back, they lose both of them, they're at 7. You have no wiggle room once he comes back. And to think, fans do, that Romo's just going to come back, step right in, and they're going to go 7-0, I think is ludicrous when you look at their schedule and what they have to do. So to put that on them, to have to go 7-0, I don't think you can do that. I think there's got to be a little bit of wiggle room there where we can lose at Green Bay, or we can lose at Buffalo, or we can lose to Carolina on Thanksgiving, whatever it be, that we can go 5-2 and still win the division. There's got to be a little bit of wiggle room there. So yes, to me, they needed to win at least one of these 2 games. If they win both of them, I think they're sitting in pretty good shape when he comes back.
Oh, no doubt. If they get both of them, then they're really feeling pretty good. Des Bryant was back last week, played 50 of 61 snaps, limited today in practice. Was he just out there last week to kind of get the blood flowing and get himself out there more of a decoy? Do you anticipate Des is a bigger part, or did they just take him out last week?
I think the Seattle Seahawks just took him out. Richard Sherman's that good against him, and coming back, maybe it would have been a different story if Des had been full strength going against Richard, but Richard just took him out, and we know he's one of the best corners in the league, played him 1-on-1, shadowed him all over the field, and it worked to the Seahawks' advantage. They played him very well. The Cowboys wanted to get him involved last week, and it just didn't happen, and they didn't want to force anything, although he did break up a couple interceptions there, possible interceptions that the Seahawks could have had. But, yeah, I think you'll see him obviously have more catches and more yards this week against the Eagles, and they'll definitely try to get the ball to him. There's no doubt about that.
Charean Williams, 22nd season covering the NFL. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram covers the Cowboys, and obviously they released Joseph Randle. Murray is here. What is the running game? Has it been a disappointment? You got this great offensive line. I mean, has it been a disappointment, the running game out there?
Yeah, it certainly hasn't gone as planned since they lost DeMarco, and they miss him. They're not going to say that, but they do miss him. And I have said all along they wouldn't be 0-5 if they had DeMarco Murray and Dwayne Harris on this roster. I understand there's some salary cap, certain things you have to do in Philly. I know they were sad to see Macklin go, and if they paid him, maybe their offense is better. There's always these ifs, ands, and buts, and I know there's only a certain amount that they can pay guys, but they do miss him. There's no question, and it's not gone anything like they planned. The 4 guys they now have in that running backs room as tailbacks, they didn't have on their roster last year. So DeMarco Murray would not even recognize the running backs in that room other than fullback Tyler Klutz. So it's been a full turnover now, and they've gone away from the running back by committee. This is going to be a one-back offense with Darren McFadden carrying the load, and you keep waiting for him to get hurt because that's his history. He hasn't done it. Last year he did play all 16 games, but they didn't use him like a lead back. So is he going to be able to hold up with this many carries, this many touches going forward? And we're going to find that out because that's exactly how they're going to use him.
I know a lot of negative talk when you mention Hardy's name. How has he been received, after the incident down there? He's played well. He's made an impact. Do you anticipate that that things are all peachy keen with him? Is he getting along with his with teammates and everything? Has that been a win for them in terms of the player?
Turn of the player, I think it has. They talk about his work ethic, and it has been good, and he's done a lot to mentor some of the younger players as far as on-the-field stuff, and he's been a force in the pass rusher and, had the interception and had a forced fumble, and he's had the 3 sacks, and, so he's done some really good things on the field, so they like that part of it. They've openly talked about the contract extension. I think that's a carrot out there for him, that they're hanging out there saying, we keep playing the way you're playing and doing what you're doing, and we want to sign you long-term and give you a big deal. So we'll see how this thing plays out, but they've been pretty happy with him on the field so far.
Charean Williams with us, the Cowboys and the Eagles, and obviously 2 teams that have struggled up to this point. It's Castle in there for Whedon. Do you think that either one of those guys gives them any better shot? Did they just do it because, or do they legitimately feel that Castle gives them a better opportunity to win the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, they think Castle gives them a better chance to win, and I know there's some analytics out there that say otherwise, but that's what they believe. They believe that Castle is the answer to this offense while Romo's out. And we know the losing streak they're on without Romo. It goes back to the Stephen McGee days. He's not even in the league anymore, but that victory over in 2010, that victory he had over the Eagles in that meaningless game way back then, that was the last time the Cowboys had won with a backup quarterback. And so, they can't seem to get it done with the backup quarterback, and they've got to find a way to do that in at least one of these next 2 games. And they believe that Matt Castle's the answer over Brandon Whedon. We're going to find out if he can get 1 or possibly 2. I did think it was interesting in his Monday press conference, though. Jason Garrett didn't look beyond this game. He said Matt Castle will be the starter for this game. He didn't guarantee that he would start the next week against Tampa Bay. So it'll be interesting to see if they do lose this game, what they do for the Tampa game, which then becomes, I think, you're at the must-win point if you lose this one. Yeah,
and I would agree. And, the Cowboy fans are everywhere. We get them here sending messages and people wanting to know, are they even considering Kellen Moore? Obviously that would be a 3rd quarterback change for that team.
Yeah, I don't think Kellen Moore is going to start for this team this year. And if they do, it's the end of the year and they're done, and they've had a couple quarterback injuries. But I think it's either going to be Castle or Whedon, and I think if you're betting money, you probably should bet on Castle.
All right, Charean Williams, 22 years covering the Cowboys, the NFL, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and the Eagles and the Cowboys renew their rivalry. And the Chip Kelly-led Eagles have won both times in Dallas since he's been the head coach, and Dallas has won both times here 3 times now. They beat him earlier this year, so see if Chip can even it up on Sunday night. Charean, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.